Nice. Got the boat out of storage, probably a week ago. Getting it ready for trout opening day this Saturday. Couple issues. Drained the fluid from the lower unit, the gear oil, and it's got water in it. So, I've never done it before. Bought the boat mid-season last year. I'm hoping it was just loose drain plugs. I hope. Anyway, I put fresh lube in it. I'm gonna run it a few times, drain the lube, see if the water reappears. I put some Teflon tape around the drain plugs, really snugged them up this time. They were pretty loose, pretty easy to undo. So, anyway, so now what I am doing is I am mounting the ram mount for the new Helix 7 that I got. And I bought some goofy, but I think will be helpful, waterproof LED strip lights that you can control with your phone and with the remote. And I'm gonna figure out how to route those best that maintain night vision, but also kind of light up the cockpit area. So, let's get to working. I already snaked the transducer cable for the new graph, which was kind of a pain in the butt, but I was able to use a clothes hanger and snake through. I'll show you here. So there's the new deucer. Hopefully the positioning is okay. Came up, utilized some previous cable keepers there. Through there, that's where I had to, and then through there, had to pull the controls. Was able to get it through that hole right there. So, with regards to the power, the old graph was plumbed into the 12-volt cigarette lighter charger. So I just cut that and I tied into that as well. It's got an inline fuse and it's also fuse protected in the fuse box. And just used some shrinking butt end connectors, the type with the glue. I wouldn't use anything but, except for some of those solderable connectors as well. But these things are made for like, 12, I forget what these ones were, 12 gauge. And they'll shrink right down to tiny, tiny wire. So very versatile. Anyway, gotta mount this. This is all they give you with the Helix. And, that it's not a bad start. Like, I don't know, you can mount it here. This is where my old one was. You can mount it here, but I only have one graph and I want to be able to see it from up front, and there's no rotation. Even my old Garmin, you could kind of rotate it. So, I got the ram mount, and that means I'll be able to kind of pivot it any way I want. So, let me get started on some of the installation, and then I'll get back to you. Alright, so where the old screen was mounted is kind of a disaster. I think for rigidity and structural integrity, I'm going to take this piece of cedar that I have left over. Cedar is really naturally water repellent. I'm going to sand it down because it's been sitting out to the weather and just kind of make like a nailer, so to speak. Clean everything up. There's going to be, if I just mounted it, there's going to be holes drilled through the plastic and just looks like crap. So I'm gonna try and polish this up, make it as yachty as I can make it. Probably just leave it natural. Cedar doesn't take terribly well to stain because of its natural oils, but who knows, I might. It'll also be the kind of thing where I can just pull it off and replace it with something more legitimate in the future. Anyway, I'm gonna get to sanding and let's get this thing looking pretty. So, I don't feel like going and getting my tools down the road, but a handsaw will do. It actually does really well. If you're trying to do some fine work, just used a framing square as a straight edge, and was just careful not to bear down too much on that saw. Just kind of let the saw do its work, and then you'll be left with a nice clean finish. Kind of get the final length, and then I'll bevel all the edges with the sandpaper, make it look real purty. Do as much of the sanding as you can while the board is still full length. Just gives you something to hold on to, gives you some leverage. I just took kind of the final length measurement. We're gonna cut that and put a nice bevel on the corners and hopefully be done. All right, there's our finished product. Not perfect, but it'll do. All right, so I was looking for some teak oil. Can't seem to find it, but I think what I'll do is I'll mix up some Helmsman with some thinner. Just make a really light mixture. Put that on there, it'll dry quickly, and it'll give it a little bit of something to protect it from rot down the road. So, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this on my boat because I'm a slob. But, we'll see how it goes. Okay. Taking every precaution. Give the Helmsman a little mix. It's really not going to take much. Oh God. Okay, that was way too much. God, this is scary. Good splash of thinner. Mix that up nice. Of course, wearing the proper PPE. Organic mixing stick. I'm just going to use a paper towel. Oh, that's so satisfying. I know people are probably going to be like, oh, there's lint. You know, it's not a lint-free rag, but who cares? Just use the other end of that paper towel, wipe the excess. Alright. Let that dry for a little bit. Alright, so now I gotta put this grommet type thing in there. Kind of marked out. I want to utilize the old hole. It's not perfect, but I don't want to drill another hole down through that fiberglass console. It's a 1-inch outside diameter. I got like a 1-inch Forstner type bit. Hopefully this works. Okay, that did not work. I need a hole saw. Alright, well that piece of wood is junk. Use this as a demo. Drill a pilot hole. Okay, so it worked. Now I gotta redo that block of wood. Great. So that's take 2. I drilled the hole first so I knew it wouldn't be split after doing all that sanding. Definitely didn't take as much time on this one. It's still susceptible to splitting. If I had a hole saw, might have helped, but I just did another quick coat of Helmsman, but then that little guy pops right in there. Nice clean looking finish. Alright, so next step. Probably gonna have to drill some pilot holes so we don't split this once again, and hopefully get it mounted up. Okay, well, no one ever said it was gonna be easy. This is the power cord. Okay, and it's got this. Okay, that doesn't fit through that 1-inch grommet. So I already have it plumbed up. I'm gonna have to cut the cords, put 2 new butt end connectors on. Just like mechanicking. If you're only doing it once, something probably is wrong. Hardly have enough wire left. Cut back the sheath probably. Feed it down through the hole first. We'll be doing it a 3rd time. It's tough with this thin gauge wire to get these bigger butt connectors to crimp, but I need to use them because this is like a 10 gauge. I'm gonna do both. As long as you get them close, the glue is going to do the rest of the work for you. Okay, this unit is the positive, even though it's black. want to warm it till you see that glue starting to ooze out. Stuff really does shrink down though. I mean, I keep a bunch of these butt end connectors in my little tool bag with some wire, some fuses, a lighter, some electrical tape, just in case. Alright, well, it's not perfect, but it'll do. Alright, so here's the unit all mounted up. And it worked just like I expected. Spin it around, face it up front, if you're up on the bow. If you got driving weather coming in, you can tuck it behind the windshield. I did take some water over the bow on opening day. That was a pretty rough day. And popped the fuse. What I ended up doing is coming back and removing the piece of cedar and then bedding it down with some caulking to stop some of the water from running down and then into the electrical compartment. One thing I will say is I was out on a smaller lake that has a deep trough, and I wanted to kind of set it up for vertical jigging like you do in ice mode. So I switched the unit over to ice mode. One tip with that is when you switch it from ice mode to open water, you lose all of the settings that you have made for the open water mode. So the unit has like what feels like 100 different views. Your 2D, down imaging, side imaging, and then all of these combos. You can have chart, 2D, side imaging, chart, down imaging, side imaging. You get the point. Anyway. So, it's pretty easy. You can just go into your views menu and you can make any of those visible or hidden, and you can kind of customize it, which is pretty cool. Some people would even use this type of unit on a sailboat. So they're going to have all the chart views, bird's eye, those navigational aids more readily available. They don't care about fish. You'll have your depth and you'll have your chart. So they really make it pretty versatile for everybody to use one of these. But you switch it from ice mode and then back into open water and you're gonna lose all of those presets that you set up. And I mean everything. I mean, I don't think I had charted any waypoints at the time. I think that waypoints on the chart were preserved, but things like sounds and depth alarms and things that you've set all get restored to the factory default when you switch back and forth. So check it out before you switch. Look on YouTube. There's a couple videos that help you set the unit up for vertical jigging while it's still in open water mode. So that's one tip I have for you. Alright, I'm going to power this off, and I'm going to show you one of the biggest issues I've been dealing with, and it's on the stern. I'll meet you at the transducer. One issue that I ran into immediately was roost coming off of the transducer. When I first went out, and again, I wanted to utilize the holes from the old transducer mount. This is actually one of them. Instead of trying to fill it with JB Weld, I just put some silicone on the screw that held the transducer in and threaded it in. That's actually one of the best ways of plugging a hole. Even with my old John boat, if there was a rivet that was leaking, I would just drill out the rivet and put a bolt through it. Anyway, so first day out, opening day, it was really bad, the spray and the roost. And anyway, I posted on a forum and somebody mentioned this rubber plug and I had totally forgot to install it. This thing is key. A huge jet of water will come out of this, the gap between your adjustment mechanism and then the backing plate here. So always remember to put this in. They said if if you get it secondhand or if you lose this plug, just wrap electrical tape around this. Anything to obscure this void. That's one quick tip for you. Alright, so this is where I need your help, guys. And please, please help. So, you can see the angle of the boat is fairly steep. And no matter how you slice it, it's really difficult to have the transducer in the water when you're on plane, but also just skimming the surface, because if you have this side flush, or it's even a little above the bottom of the hull, this side is going to be a ½ inch low. But if you move it up so that this side is just skimming the water, you're only getting 1/8 of the transducer touching the water. So, some people say that all you need is 1/8 of the transducer touching the water for a decent reading at high speeds. Some others say that spray and roost is just part of the game with these larger transducers for like side imaging, down imaging units. I did see that Humminbird has what looks like a high-speed transducer. It's similar in size to my old one, much smaller. I don't know if it deals with mega side imaging in these G3N units, and it's also back-ordered till like middle of the summer. So let me know what you think. I heard that you can make a splash guard, which I might end up doing, and I watch videos like John B. and some drone shots of him on plane. He's got a huge roost coming off of one side, and he doesn't have power poles or anything. So maybe that's just part of life. It's not bad. It just drenches the side of the motor pretty good, but I mean, I guess it's an outboard and it's meant to take some weather and water. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you have any tips on installation of any of the Helix units with the side imaging transducer, I'm pretty sure it's the same transducer, please comment below, let me know. Anyway, stay tuned for the second installment of this little Boatworks episode. We're going to go through the installation, the trials, the tribulations of installing the flexible, waterproof LED strip lighting in the boat. I think I figured out a pretty good system, but there's some things you should know that I learned so you don't make those same mistakes. Anyway, stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching. Comment below, subscribe, let me know. This transducer thing has been killing me, but it's working. We're fishing. Water's getting warm, fish are moving up. It's good. Hopefully next time we see you, we'll be on the water catching some fish.